Here we go at Oakmont. Let's start with the course. What do we know about this course? How long is the rough, and does course history come into effect for you this week?
The U.S. Open has always been billed as the most difficult test of golf there is on the planet. And I tell you what, it's often labeled as the most difficult golf course in the world is Oakmont.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
We don't want you playing here. Can you move positions? Do something else. He starts the season like 0 for 150, it felt like, and finally finds himself in a groove at the plate, hitting 272. 15 home runs on the season? Now he's shipped to San Francisco.
What is management going to do? Nobody who's paying you $313.5 million is going to hear anything from you. They'll figure out a way to get rid of you, and that's exactly what they did.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but yeah, it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say, yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports.
Whoa! 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Game 6. Joe Ranieri in the building tonight. Florida Panthers looking to win another Stanley Cup. We also are going to talk about Game 6 of the NBA Finals and continue to hit on that. So many hot topics, which includes Major League Baseball. I got to tell you, Joe, the card in Major League Baseball looks very appetizing for me today. A lot of bad pitchers, a lot of good hitters. I'm just telling you.
There really is, though. I mean, last night we had a limited selection of games. We did get to see Ohtani pitch finally, but I think tonight, some interesting series. And will the Yankees actually score a run tonight? I think is a good question as well, though.
Yeah. And by the way, Joe Ranieri filling in all this week, does an admirable job. We have a good time. There is somebody wandering around Italy here. My question to you, Joe Ranieri, if you did go to Italy and you did have vacation, would it be just, for me, it would be just pizza and pasta the entire way through. How would you go about going to Italy? By the way, have you been to Italy before?
I have not. No, I have not. Yeah, I've often wanted to. And yes, I look forward to it at some particular point. But, Donnie, they don't give us a lot of time off here at SportsGrid. So I don't know how Ben did that.
Top of the food chain, top of the pay scale, guys going out. Hey, maybe we're paying him a little bit too much money here at the SportsGrid Network. Just some little food for thought at that point. But Ben, enjoying his time in Italy. He'll be back next week. And then the big draft extravaganza next Wednesday. We talked some Ace Bailey news today with the coach. But the factor is, Joe, we have big doings tonight. And a trophy might be handed out, like the expectations. You'll be in the building tonight. What are your expectations, the excitement level in South Florida for a chance at another, 15 years ago, saying another Stanley Cup win for the Florida Panthers? Never thought I'd be saying that.
Kind of crazy, but yeah, and a second year in a row, too, to be able to clinch it at home, which is also kind of nuts. I believe the last team to do that was the Kings, did it in 2012 and 2014, where they were able to win their first 2 cups at home, and that's what the Panthers are looking to do tonight. To me, it's all about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. From a betting perspective. Over 1.5 goals in the first period, over in the game. Both of those bets are 5-0 in the series, Donnie. When we get goals, we usually get them early, and we usually get a pretty exciting second period, especially by the Panthers here. Listen, we've seen one team get rattled throughout this series, and we've seen another team just be calm, cool, and collective, win or lose. I think in a game 6 where everything is on the line, I want the calm team. Don't you there, Ben?
Yeah, Ben and Donnie both want the calm team out here on the ice tonight. So that's the way we handle our business.
I was waiting to see what that. Yes, I wanted to see what Ben wants from Italy, though.
Yeah, come on, give us a phone call here. Let me ask you this question because I find this fascinating. Like the Stanley Cup is such an iconic trophy. Like the Lombardi Trophy is iconic, but the Lombardi Trophy is not handed out like in a home or an away stadium. It's a neutral site here. So if we look at the Stanley Cup, and again, you're a Panthers fan, would love to see it, and you celebrate, and they carry it on the ice, and they get cheered. If this was game number 7, right? Let's just say we go game 7, and you're an Edmonton fan. All you want is a chance to win that cup, and you lose it.
Yeah.
Do you hang around the building to watch the cup because it's interesting and they carry? Like for me as a fan, like there's no way I could say, you know what? Stanley Cup, it's a huge moment here. Let me just stick around to see the winners get presented the Stanley Cup. I'd be out of that building so fast. How would you do like, hey, I got tickets to game 7 of Stanley Cup as a Florida fan, and let's just say it was at home in Florida like it was last year, but you lost. Do you hang around for the presentation? Or are you out of that building the minute the horn sounds because you're heartbroken?
Depends. Are they still serving
I couldn't
drinks?
stay.
Yeah, it depends, right? It depends on whether or not they shut it down there. But I would say that I would not expect things to go well in a game 7 in Edmonton. I mean, they are carrying the weight of an entire nation who has not been able to win a cup in a hot minute. So the fact that you got into a game 7 and then eventually lost, I wouldn't expect a whole lot of people to be hanging around for that.
Yeah, I think didn't Vancouver riot one year when they lost the Stanley Cup? I believe it was a big mayhem and people got in jail for a long time. So yes, it's interesting to me. Like if the Eagles had a home Super Bowl and hadn't won one yet, and the opposing team came in and won it, like, hey, let's stick around for the Lombardi Trophy. Absolutely not at this point. But
I agree.
This is the time of the show, Joe. We got to ask the people what they actually feel. And at SportsGrid, our account here on X/Twitter, we asked the Fade the Public poll, which championship series, NBA and NHL, will go to a game number 7? There's 4 choices. Both, neither, NBA only, or NHL only. 41% of the public coming in with a neither, which means we won't do a game 7. For me, I actually picked the NBA because I think there's a legitimate chance the Pacers win on their home court. I'm not so sure the Oilers can win tonight in Sunrise, Joe. How did you vote on this poll here?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Donnie. I don't see in any way, shape, or form a situation where both go to a game 7. I do think that the best opportunity here is going to be for the NBA and for the Pacers to hold serve, just because we have seen 2 different OKC teams when they play at home and when they play on the road. They're vulnerable on the road. That's where game 6 is. I think there's very much a distinct possibility that we're getting a game 7 in the NBA Finals, which, by the way, nobody saw because they've been a bigger favorite than anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were just hoping to get the game number 5. Now we're at a game number 6, hoping to get a game number 7, which would be great theater on Sunday night. If we do get a game number 7 in the NHL, it's a Friday night, 8 p.m. start from Edmonton. And we talked yesterday about this, like, okay, series preview, re-racket, where does it sit? But I remember having the conversation like, hey, but Florida, minus 140 seems a little cheap here. Well, today at the FanDuel Sportsbook, it's minus 152 for the Florida Panthers to win tonight and win the Stanley Cup. And I agree with that. Like when you talk about momentum, but also like just because you want to win, like Edmonton, sure, they want to win. Doesn't mean they're going to win. Same thing with the Florida Panthers. But there is something about like what Florida understands. We have a chance in our home building in game number 6 after we stole momentum in game number 5. We can't let this get back to Edmonton. And I think there is, Joe, is a little bit of a bump for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. They have no desire to fly across continent for a game 7. They are going to want to end this on their own home ice. And this, I think, Donnie, is where experience comes into play. They were here last year in a game 7. They didn't want to lose it at home. And I think they're going to want to win it again here. They want nothing to do with a game 7. The money is continuing to come in, like you said. minus 145, 146 24 hours ago. Now minus 150s here. It's the money is coming in, and with good reason. There is, again, been one team that has proven, as great as Draisaitl and McDavid have been, the kryptonite seems to be the Florida Panthers have been able to control the damage there and do a little damage of their own.
Crazy. It's wild how we could actually be set up for this weekend's action, Joe. A game number 7 on Friday night and a game number 7 on a Sunday, bookended by Major League Baseball play. What a weekend it would be. And also it's like a summer send-off where it's like, hey, NHL and NBA, like you gave us exactly what we needed. Extended series to sort of get a little bit closer to football season with our help here. Yeah. I would love to see it, but certainly eyeballs will be so much fun to, put on this game tonight and say, are we going to get some action here? Is it going to be a blowout either way? But boy, oh boy, if we get 1-1, late third period, overtime action, heck, even 4-4 late in that would be so much fun to watch. But we'll watch it play out in Sunrise, Florida tonight. A game number 6 in the building. The Stanley Cup will be. Major League Baseball talk next. Craig Mish, what?
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hot topics, more hot topics, and hot topics on top of that. That's what we do on the Early Line. It's a Tuesday. We got to get you set for everything, which we did in the NHL and in the NBA. Could we get Game 7s in both of those leagues? Unbelievable if true. Friday night, Sunday night, and away we go. But in the meantime, it's Sonny writes out, it's Joe Ranieri. We got to talk some Major League Baseball. That's why we bring in our Major League Baseball insider right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's Craig Mish. Craig, how you been?
Great to see you guys again. It's a busy time right now for baseball, for sure. About to take center stage here with the NBA and NHL wrapping up.
It's big time now. Finally starting to get into them summer months here, ready to go as we have. But I'm only disappointed, Craig. You didn't tip me off to this Rafael Devers trade from the Boston Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. Did anybody see this coming? Sunday Night Baseball about to begin. We get a trade. Oh, my goodness. The landscape changing in baseball. Tell me how this happened, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, it caught everybody by surprise, I guess. I mean, literally had to change pitchers going into the game. Look, trades, Donnie, don't just happen. Like these discussed, and I'm guessing that this is going to go all the way back to even April or March when everything started happening with Devers. Teams, what happen is they sort of sniff out when things could be going right or wrong for a player, and then agents get involved. And believe me, there's a lot of back channel talking here too. So nothing comes together immediately. But my guess is that this had been percolating for a while. It was very evident that Devers was not happy playing there. He did not want to play third. Then he did not want to play first. And, obviously when Bregman came in too, there probably was some discontent there. But there's only so much that a player is owed, I think, at this stage. It kind of feels like both sides may be culpable a little bit for not having the proper communication for months at a time leading to this moment. But at least for now, the Giants appear to be taking a major step forward here. And the Red Sox are going to rely on a lot of young players. And I think from their side, hopefully, Donnie, they sign Bregman long-term, because otherwise it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I'm fascinated, Craig, from the Giants' perspective. Buster Posey gets the job, and all of a sudden they're spending money, and they couldn't get a big name. They couldn't get a franchise guy. They tried it, everybody, and swung and missed. Now they get Devers, only a handful of games back here. What's the ceiling now for this Giants team, and do you think they're done spending money?
Yeah, Joe, the point you make is fair, and I think that this is not just the Giants. If you remember, Joe, going back to the past, the Cardinals had a really hard time signing guys through free agency too. They had to make trades for Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, and then sign players once they get there. I think Matt Holliday was also part of that. For some reason, the Giants are in that same boat. You're 100% right. They tried to sign Aaron Judge. They tried to sign Carlos Correa. They ended up giving money out to Willy Adames in the offseason. They signed Soler a couple of years ago, too. It just doesn't seem like players through free agency, at least from the hitting perspective, really want to sign with the Giants. So this may be the best way to do it. And hopefully Devers enjoys his time in San Francisco, because he's going to be there a long time. He's already signed long-term for them. So, look, offensively, it's not the best park. Historically, if you look back, Joe, Barry Bonds is obviously the one name that comes to mind that had a lot of success there. And then you struggle, right? And then you think to yourself, which players have gone to San Francisco outside of Bonds and really had a lot of offensive success there? The one that comes to mind for me is Jeff Kent. He won the MVP, drove in 100 runs 6 years in a row. But it's very thin when it comes to offensive production there. So Devers is going to have to learn to hit in the Bay Area.
He certainly struggled to start the season now, but also now, Craig, 15 home runs, added that power punch in the middle of that lineup. We'll see if he can provide that. If we just look at the updated outlooks here between both of these franchises to make the playoffs at the FanDuel Sportsbook, a minus 172 price here for the Giants and a plus 172 price now for the Boston Red Sox. We have massive news as well come out this weekend. The anticipation that Shohei Ohtani was coming back to the mound sooner than later, and that sooner than later was last night. Opened as the opener for the Dodgers. Wasn't all that impressive. 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, 1 earned run, didn't record a strikeout, but his velocity was there, and also added a couple base knocks and RBIs. What can't this guy do? And also now the outlook for the Dodgers with Ohtani back on the mound, Craig.
Yeah, look, if Ohtani can somehow get to 5 innings over the next couple of months, I mean, that's
Amazing.
A huge weapon that they get back. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen for a bit here. I would expect him going to 2 and 3 and 4 innings, and then, the All-Star break comes maybe sometime after that. But this is why we've just never seen anybody like him in the history of the game. And I don't think that we ever will again. He's just a fantastic player. And from, betting perspective, it's impossible right now to take a look at anybody else and think that if he pitches great in the second half, he's probably going to win the MVP again. So he's a unicorn, as they say, one of a kind, throwing 100 first time out. I mean, what is there left to say at this point about the guy?
There's nothing. Just rename the trophy after him, the Ohtani MVP, because I don't know how it goes. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me. Coming up now, we're middle of June here, getting ready for July. Craig, when you take a look big picture at some of these World Series odds that we've got, Dodgers still the favorite, even though they're not running away with the West just yet. Yankees are still second favorite here. I go down the list. Is there a team here you think we shouldn't be counting out at this point, though?
No, I mean, I don't think counting out is look, the Braves are the one team that I thought that we would be looking at there, and they're not there. So, they're going to have to, very fast turnaround in order to get this going. I don't think you could be 7-8 games under 500 in August and have it. I mean, you can win, but the West is really interesting because the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, and even the Diamondbacks, even without Corbin Burns, I feel like they're there as well. And then the great equalizer of all is going to be if Detroit can get through the AL, because they have a guy that can pitch game 1, game 4, and game 7. They're the only team like that.
I'm fascinated, Craig. I really am fascinated about the American League because the Yankees, who all of a sudden can't hit the baseball, loses 4 straight games. Then you look at the Tigers, they're 4 games clear in the win column there of the Yankees and also 5 games clear of the Houston Astros. Are they for real for you? Like, did they hold up over the summer as, you know what, they're just as good as anybody else in the American League?
Yeah, just going through a slump. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. But look, everybody's going to freak out every day in sports. And look, baseball gets more magnified this time of the year, guys. Let's be honest. There are not multiple NBA games and NHL games on every night. We're all watching baseball every day. Yankees seem to go through offensive slumps every single season. They can't have Judge just carry them all year. But in a week or two, they'll be fine.
Craig Mish down there in South Beach watching the Philadelphia Phillies, the best team in baseball. He will even agree with that as well. Thank you, Craig Mish, for joining us today on the Early Line.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent the message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face, and after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. The Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, who had such a good training camp last year, and it looked like he was pretty good, I believe, in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, ended up going down for the full year. The Vikings are still obviously committed to him.
They knew that McCarthy was going to be available at some point in June. And McCarthy actually went on record last week. They confirmed 2 weeks ago he was cleared medically. He did work last week. And he's going to be their starter.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball, it's a Tuesday and a full slate. Game number 1 starting at 6:10 Eastern here. The last game on the schedule, should say, 10 p.m. out there with Los Angeles and San Diego. Joe, why don't we get started right away on that game? Randy Vasquez on the mound against Sauer. 909, 910 on the rotation. A 10-10 start, as we said, and a monster favorite for the Dodgers, beating the Padres last night, looking to do the same tonight. Minus 215s to minus 220s out there in the landscape, and a total listed at 9.5 at Chavez Ravine. Randy Vasquez, usually one of my favorite fadeable pitchers because his xFIP is typically high, has been pitching better over the past 30 to 45 days here. But the Padres undermanned against the Dodgers. Can they hang around in this one? Dylan Cease couldn't last night, Joe.
Yeah, no, he certainly couldn't. And it just feels like even as decent as Vasquez has been as of late, like you pointed out there, Donnie, how are we not getting runs in this game? I still think runs are coming here. 9.5 is the total. But I still think this is double digits. I think seven or 8 runs wins it here. I would not at all be shocked if, in fact, the Dodgers run away with it. Maybe the run line and the over for me in this one.
Yeah, Randy Vasquez, there's 29 pitchers on the card today, Joe. Over the last 30 days, have at least 5 innings pitched. He's second to last. That xFIP is over 5 at a 5.02, but his ERA is decent at 3.80. The one thing we've been liking here about Los Angeles the past couple of days is the heat. Usually at night, what, Joe? We're talking 73, 74 degrees. It's been close to 80 at first pitch for these games, which should help those bats. You take a look at Randy Vasquez on the season as a right-handed pitcher. He's really struggled with left-handed batters. You don't want to do that against the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, left-handed batter. Freddie Freeman, lefty. Max Muncy, lefty. They have some power bats in the middle of that lineup that should be able to do damage. But the only question is, too, like we talk about, yes, Joe, there should be runs. Like Matt Sauer. Well, I don't know how long he's going to go in this game, but you look at his last 30 days, only 50 batters he's faced. How about a 311 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage of 486 and a low strikeout rate? So, yes, weather conditions here. It's just a matter of what are we getting out of the Padres? Can we play 3+ runs tonight again for the Padres? We're probably looking at a total in that environment, but an interesting game out there in the NL West, a day removed from Shohei Ohtani getting his first start in Major League Baseball in roughly 2 years here. Let's keep it moving. And a pivotal series here. On the East, the NL East, hey, it's the Philadelphia Phillies playing good baseball. The Mets slipping a little bit. The Braves can't get out of their own way. Well, tonight in Atlanta, it's the Mets and it's the Braves. Peterson versus Schwellenbach, 905, 906 on the rotation, 7:15 start. A favorite on the opening number at FanDuel, Joe, at a minus 136 price. It's dropped slightly live now to minus 134. You see that graphic was at a minus 130. The total did open up at 8.5 and still sits at 8.5. We're live in the Big A tonight. Weather conditions, 79 to 80 degrees at first pitch. Rain in the forecast, which should be clearing as the game goes on. How about the Braves? Need to maybe start a charge here, but the Mets need to end that losing streak.
They need to do something, but, Peterson and Schwellenbach have actually been steady forces in the rotation for their teams here. And it's hard for me to look at an over, even though it's at Truist Park. It's going to be, you mentioned some rain. There's some humidity, obviously. The ball tends to fly out of there. But quite honestly, the bats and the offenses of these two teams that we've seen over the last 10 days, not that impressive here, Donnie. I give the edge to the pitchers. I'm looking at a first 5 under in this one. I think the bullpens are going to have to get involved before the runs do.
You'll be right about that, like just the way I grade this one out, because from the pitching prospects here, number 6 on the card today in xFIP is David Peterson. Well, where's Schwellenbach at? He's number 1 on the card today, Joe. 2.80 ERA over the past 30 days and 35 in the third innings pitched. How about a 2.44 xFIP number, which is fantastic? Let me ask you this question, because it pops up so many times. Like, the analytics are the analytics between the pitchers and the hitters, but the teams themselves, right? New York floundering right now, loses of 3 games in a row. You take a look at the Braves, 4-6 in their last 10, but they are 13 games behind the New York Mets. You cannot afford to lose this series to the New York Mets and say, hey, well, it's still a long summer. Like, sooner than later, the Braves have to activate their season, which they haven't been able to do. How do you play out the battle of, we need to win this game, but the Mets need to break their losing streak?
Yes, they do. And again, it's not time to hit the panic button for the Mets in any way, shape, or form. The Braves, however, the added pressure of what's been going on with them, and we just talked to Craig Mish, and he said, I didn't expect them to be, 7-8 games under 500 at this point. At some point, something has got to change. It would be a much bigger game for the Braves than for the Mets tonight.
Yeah, David Peterson's been good for the Mets. The Mets need to stop that streak, but for me, you can really bury the Braves if you win this series against the Mets. Let's see what happens. More Major League Baseball handicaps next, right here on the Early Line.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent a message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face. And after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday night, Monday. Oh, Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, who had such a good training camp last year, and it looked like he was pretty good, I believe, in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, ended up going down for the full year. The Vikings are still obviously committed to him.
They knew that McCarthy was going to be available at some point in June. And McCarthy actually went on record last week and confirmed 2 weeks ago he was cleared medically. He did work last week. And he's going to be their starter.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
NL Central, Joe Ranieri. It's been all Cubs so far this season. Great lineup, getting good pitching, and away they go. The favorites to win the Central by a mile, it's still the Chicago Cubs. But they played today against the Milwaukee Brewers. 9:07, 9:08 on the rotation. At 8:05 start tonight, Milwaukee's going to throw Patrick going up against the Cubs Brown. You take a look at the side in this. Opened up at the FanDuel Sportsbook overnight at a minus 152. You see the graphic, it's at a minus 148. Live, it's back up to a minus 152 price. If we look at the total, 9.5 overnight has shifted down to 9, which means you always want to check the weather conditions, which, by the way, are mid-80s with a light wind blowing out and a drop in the total. Is that just because you look at that Brewers lineup like, it's Christian Yelich and a bunch of bums right now? But that lineup is solid for the Cubs tonight. Favorite for the Cubs. They're at home, Joe. What are some initial thoughts between the Brewers and the Cubs for you?
Well, then you're right. Solid lineup. But let's take a look at the last 5 games for the Cubs. Yeah. Let's see. They scored 2 runs against Philadelphia, 3 runs against Pittsburgh, 1 run against Pittsburgh, 2 runs against Pittsburgh, and 3 runs against Pittsburgh. They can't hit right now. If you think the Yankees are going through it, the Cubs have been doing this for a while now. So, yeah, I get why the total is dropping. It would not shock me at all if this thing drops under 9, in fact, here, and it keeps going south. You got 2 pitchers in Brown and Patrick that have been more than capable of limiting the damage here. I lean the Cubs, but I like the under more with these 2 teams. Can't trust them offensively right now.
I'll tell you what's interesting, too, because when the analytics creep in, right? If I tell you Ben Brown is number 4 on my playing card today, it's like, wow, he's having a great last 30 days. ERA is over 7, which is incredible, but His xFIP is 3.27, which means he's getting just a little bit unlucky. Chad Patrick, he's fifth on the card today, Joe. How about a manageable ERA of 3.08 and an xFIP of 3.35? Yep. Something has to give today, and most of the time, you see the favorite is the Cubs, and rightfully so. You give the benefit to their 1 through 9 starting lineup as opposed to the Brewers, but it's just interesting when you see the analytics angle say, oh, he has his ERA 7, and he's supposed to be a good pitcher today. Well, he doesn't give up too many fly balls, which is key, obviously, there in Wrigley. And number 2, he does strike guys out. We'll see how it plays out today in the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Let's head up to Toronto for the next game, Joe. 9:23, 9:24 on the rotation. It's Arizona and Toronto fought on the mound here for the Diamondbacks, going up against Chris Bassett, the right-handed pitcher of the Toronto Blue Jays. 7:07 start. And how about this? A favorite of minus 136 overnight for Toronto has dipped down live now to a minus 124 price at the FanDuel Sportsbook. A total overnight it opened up at 8.5. We're now seeing 9s. Brandon Pfaadt has really, Joe, been struggling as of late here for the Diamondbacks.
So first game home for Toronto after a 9-game road trip, which they started out great on, and then they hit Philadelphia and they got destroyed. And really the bats went cold here. Now their first game back at home. I don't tend to like to back teams their first go around home after a long road trip. But Chris Bassett is 5-0 at home with a 2.48 ERA and 7 starts for the Blue Jays. And you mentioned Pfaadt. I mean, a guy, over an 8 ERA in May. He had some blow-up starts. He hasn't pitched more than, I think, 6 innings in June yet. So, then you got to get that bullpen involved for Arizona. I like the price. I don't normally like teams first go-around, but with Chris Bassett and those numbers at home, kind of feels like it's a good spot for Toronto to bounce back.
Yeah, it looks like the Dome probably going to be open tonight, 71, 72 degrees. That first pitch here, light wind blowing out to left field. But you take a look at Brandon Pfaadt, 27th out of 29 pitchers today in xFIP numbers. But look at his last 30 days. Only 19 2/3 innings pitched over 5 starts. So he hasn't been going well for him. How about an ERA of 10.07? I like the bat tonight for the Blue Jays. Barger's in there, Kirk's in there, Springer, Jimenez, all have high numbers. But if we just focus on Brandon Pfaadt, his last 94 batters, Joe, that he faced, how about an ISO against of 326, which is almost double the league average, and a weighted on base percentage of 435. Lefties crushing him, righties crushing him here. Could it be a big night? And the one thing I do like about Arizona is you look at their lineup on a day-to-day basis, it always projects extremely well. We'll see what Bassett has, but the one thing I do know for sure is I'm not backing Brandon Pfaadt on the money line to win this game tonight. He has just been putrid, and they're on the road. We'll certainly see what happens here. We'll keep it moving down to Cincinnati we go. The Minnesota Twins going to take on the Reds. David Festa on the mound for the Twins, going up against Andrew Abbott, the lefty here for the Cincinnati Reds. 9:25, 9:26 on the rotation. A 7:10 start tonight. A light favorite overnight for the Reds at a minus 116 price. As you see on the graphic, we're now up slightly higher to a minus 122. The total, which opened up overnight at 9, still sits at 9 as well. The Great American Ballpark is host today. Twins and the Reds. What do we think of between Festa and Abbott?
This is just this line stinks like nobody's business here, Donnie. You have a Reds team whose bats are, when they hit, it's great. When they don't, not so good. But they've really started to come around. At the Great American Ballpark, you're talking about Andrew Abbott, who's allowed 0 or 1 run in 9 of his 11 starts this season. Plus he's averaging about 9 strikeouts a game. He's not giving up a ton of home runs. David Festa, really? And a bullpen, by the way, for the Twins that has gotten lit up here over the last month right now. So to me, this screams Reds, but the market is telling you maybe otherwise.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting one, too, because you're right. It is a cheap price. And, well, I don't really like the pitcher on the mound, Festa, here. And it's a home team, 75 degrees at first pitch, light winds blowing in. So we should have some pretty good hitting environment. Also with Festa, like his last 30 days here, 41 batters he's faced, a 378 ISO against, and a 399 weighted on base percentage. The guys that you look at in the lineup for the Reds who've been raking right-handed pitching, how about TJ Friedel, a 469 weighted on base percentage? How about Ellie De La Cruz, 574? Christian Encarnacion Strand, 497. Tyler Stevenson, 400. Jake Fraley, 380. Even Will Benson with a decent ISO power number to go up against it. Might we see runs tonight here? That's probably the way that I would look toward this. Now, it is a full card in Major League Baseball tonight. We just had Craig Mish on there. And again, the focus of South Florida, certainly, Joe, is not going to be lying with the Miami Marlins, who the Phillies beat last night. Cal Quantrill is one of those pitchers I do like to fade in Major League Baseball. Jesus Luzardo, no stranger to Lone Depot Park of the Phillies, picked him up here, and he used to pitch with the Miami Marlins themselves. The Phillies are a massive favorite. You just continue to ride the Phillies on a hot streak here and say Miami just can't get it together?
Well, the problem was Luzardo had a nice bounce back start last time around. But prior to that, Donnie, he was getting lit up like a Christmas tree. He wasn't making it out of the second or third inning. And that's a problem here. We have seen some over money come in, pushing this up to 8.5 from an opening of 8 here. But it's nice to see the Phillies bats. I think the only way I would look at this, because I don't trust Luzardo necessarily, but I do think the bats of Philadelphia can score some runs off of Quantrill. So I am looking at Philadelphia's team total over 2.5 in the first 5 in this one.
Does make some sense. I'm always a big fade guy there, certainly for Cal Quantrill. If we look at another fade pitch from the mound today, don't you always just say, well, who's pitching for Colorado and how can we get down and fade the guy? Here's the interesting part. Like, again, Washington is close to a $2 favorite again today going up against the Colorado Rockies. But Senzatella's on the mound. He really struggles, Joe, with left-handed batters. James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia, Josh Bell, Nathaniel Lowe, Kybert Ruiz, Dalen Lyle. You have estimated 8 left-handed batters in the lineup tonight going against Colorado. I think it's a bounce back. And how about this, Joe? 82 degrees at first pitch in the nation's capital, wind blowing out. I think we get some runs tonight off of Senzatella.
But they're 2-12 in their last 14, and they can't score runs, Donnie. I mean, even last night, it's a struggle bus. So on paper, they should dominate, but you can't trust the offense right now, and it doesn't matter who's pitching. It would be hard for me to back Colorado, but I like the under instead.
Minus 200 on those Washington Nationals tonight. How about that? We're going to talk more. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. We got a special guest coming up next. His name is Joe Ranieri. We'll be right back on the early line on the SportsGrid Network next.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way, and now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside.
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
in the building tonight. The Stanley Cup will be there. Sunrise, Florida, game number 6. Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers. Joe Ranieri. I need, because you're there. You're in South Florida. Give me the stage. We know it's great weather every day. No, it's it's no big deal. If they don't win any championships, you can always go to the beach. Give me South Florida right now and what the pulse is. Excitement? Just another game we're supposed to win, or let's get down there and let's have a parade.
Well, I'll tell you this. Nobody's talking about the Dolphins, but they are certainly talking about, and listen, the Miami Heat are still in the news because of Kevin Durant. But what? Yeah, no, well, who? So the Panthers, and it's crazy, Donnie, because over the years now, this run that the Panthers have been on, 3 straight Stanley Cup final appearances, you look at Florida and you go, Florida, how are they playing hockey in Florida? Well, I believe if you include Tampa, which is also in Florida, we're pretty used to the Stanley Cup coming to this state and staying here, as it's, 6 years now. It has a possibility if the Panthers are able to get it done. So, but it all starts with ownership, great coaching, great leadership in Bill Zito, hitting on their top draft picks over this last decade, making the right moves to go get the right kinds of players, trading like a Marshawn, like a Seth Jones, doing those things year after year. And wouldn't you know it, that's how you build an actual championship team. Is you're not reaching for guys, you're not overpaying for guys, and you're keeping the guys that you need in order to build a winner. And that's what they've done here in Florida.
Now, the Florida Panthers used to be confused with the FIU Panthers. Not anymore. There's only one Panther in town, and it's the Florida Panthers here. And that brings us to tonight's action. Estimated on the starting goalies. Well, Bobrovsky, never an estimation for the Panthers, but Skinner back in for the Oilers tonight. And a favorite that opened up at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a minus 140 price that we talked about yesterday has crept as high as minus 152 on the live number here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Other outlets as high, Joe, as minus 160 now. And I got to tell you, I tend to agree with that. 6.5 on the opening number for the total, still sits at 6.5. An entertaining season, all the way through. Talk to me about this, because the Florida Panthers, yes, they should be the favorite. That total of 6.5 routinely is going over in this series. Do we get another 7+ goal game tonight from Sunrise?
Again, it would be, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I know we saw some of these games close at 6 because we saw a lot of steam come in late on the unders, expecting it to be this big defensive. But no, the first period over 1.5 goals, and the over in the games are 5-0 in this series. Now, last game could have very well have been an under. You had the empty netter to get it over. But this is a situation where, why am I changing it? We're talking about a Florida team that has scored 2 goals or more in the opening 20 minutes in every game of this final. So why change it here? We're getting goals. We get them early. By the time we get to the second period, we either have 2 or 3 goals on the board, Donnie, and then it opens up from there. So I don't see any reason to sweat out an under here. I think if it's not broke, we're not fixing it. Over 1.5 goals in the first period and over for the game, because if they are down, Edmonton, when are you pulling Skinner or Picard or whoever you're throwing in there? When do you pull them if you're down a goal in the third? The empty netter is very much alive and well here for this game.
You're so right about that, too, because usually look at on the normal landscape. Pull the goalie, regular season, minute to go, see what happens here. But if you're down 4-2, you are pulling that goalie with 5 minutes to go, because there is we gave up an early empty netter. Well, you lost the game anyway at this point. You can't wait till the final minute to try to get some extra goals in it. So that certainly is a huge indicator. And also, if you're just looking to bet the third period alone, outside of a game that's 5-1, I mean, you probably should still pull the goalie anyway, because at least give it a try to get within 1 goal back. And if you give one up, there's your total as well. Who are your players to watch tonight, Joe? Is it Bobrovsky? Is it Skinner? Is it a certain player on either one of these two teams?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, you got to go with the usuals if you are looking at the Florida Panthers, right? Anybody stopping Brad Marchand? I mean, he plays on the, the third and fourth line there, and he is just absolutely dominating what's happening here. I mean, his anytime goal plus 230, somewhere in that ballpark. Bennett is interesting because Bennett has done almost all of his damage on the road in the playoffs. It's kind of crazy when you look at how many goals he's got. He's leading the goal scoring right now, but most of that has all been, except for 2, I think, have been on the road. The guys that we see that show up and show out, guys like Marchand, Reinhart is a guy, and Kachuk is a guy that I would look for early and often. The big name guys that have been there, they were there a year ago. They've been doing it now forever for the Panthers. Those are the guys that I would look at, and I would absolutely look at the Florida Panthers scoring first. It's been another one that's worked out pretty well. So give me the Panthers to score the first goal as well.
Yeah, I think it makes some sense here. And also the Conn Smythe Award, right? Because if we hand out the Stanley Cup tonight, the Conn Smythe is also going to be handed out as well. Yep. You can't tell me, Joe, like outside of Sam Bennett scoring twice and it's a 2-1 game and they win it, which again, he's still the favorite. I get it. If Marchand scores again tonight, let's just say Sam Bennett doesn't, even though Bennett's the heavy favorite, I understand it's supposed to be for the length of the playoffs, but don't you have to like triple time that in the Stanley Cup final? Like he has been the most clutch player on the ice. And let's just say he scores the game-winning goal tonight. He's got to get the Conn Smythe, no?
Yeah, and he does a great job of opening up the scoring, too. And yes, to me, I think a goal, an assist, any combination of over 2 points here and a Florida win could very well give it. Unless, again, Bennett comes out and he scores 2 goals at home, which is not something he's done a lot of. Again, it's all been on the road. I think it's down to those 2 guys, but I wouldn't sleep on Bobrovsky either if there's any sort of shutout here.
By the way, where's the parade going to be if they win? Is it on Key Biscayne? I mean, where are we going with this thing? Where is it? Where's it at?
Oh, yeah. No, it'll be right through the streets of A1A in Fort Lauderdale again, and it'll be it rained last year at that parade, but yeah, it's going to be on the beach as usual. It's the way it should be.
There you go. I'm off to the radio. Joe Renier is going to shut it down for more Best Bet winners. Stay tuned right here on the Early Line.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent a message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face. And after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. Oh, Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, who had such a good training camp last year, and it looked like he was pretty good, I believe, in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, ended up going down for the full year. The Vikings are still obviously committed to him.
They knew that McCarthy was going to be available at some point in June. And McCarthy actually went on record last week and confirmed 2 weeks ago he was cleared medically. He did work last week. And he's going to be their starter.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in here. The early line on this Tuesday here, June the 17th, as we're coming off of what was a great, important game 5 that went towards the Oklahoma City Thunder last night there, as they are now 1 win away from clinching the NBA Finals. We have the NHL Stanley Cup Finals with a possible clinching game for the defending champion Florida Panthers. That's coming up tonight. Plus, you got 15 Major League Baseball games on tap, and we'll go over a few more of these games coming up tonight. Some real interesting matchups at this point in the game. We'll start with Detroit taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates here, and the Pirates had a halfway decent run here over the last couple of weeks. They've had a few games in which they've actually been able to score a few runs. They send out Casey Mize tonight to the mound for them, and he's actually been pretty good, to say the least here. Tariq Skubal, Casey Mize, Olsen, they are hoping to get back here. This is a formidable rotation for the Detroit Tigers. And the thing I really like about Casey Mize is that he's one of the top 5 or 6 pitchers in Major League Baseball in the first 5 innings, especially at home. He's got a 1.35 ERA in the first 5 innings at home. You have a Tigers team that absolutely destroys left-handed pitching, and you got Bailey Falter going for the Pittsburgh Pirates here. A lot of fly balls he gives up, doesn't generate a ton of swing and misses. I can't trust the Pirates to score enough runs, but I do like the Tigers against left-handed pitching at home, where they're slashing right around 275 here. Give me the Tigers. I'll lay a half a run in the first 5 innings with them. I think they've got a pretty good opportunity to get the win full game, but I really like them to have a lead heading into the 6th inning there. The Angels and the Yankees. What are we supposed to do with this Yankees lineup, who all of a sudden can't seem to hit water if they fell out of a boat here? Well, they get to go up against Kyle Hendricks, and maybe that's a good place to start. Why? Because, well, Kyle Hendricks actually hasn't been that bad this year at home. On the road, he's sporting close to a 6.4 ERA on the road, gives up at least, or an averaging of about 2 home runs per 9 innings pitched on the road. So he is the home road splits are very noticeable here. Not to mention the Angels bullpen, although they did a fantastic job last night somehow backing up Soriano and limiting the runs for the Yankees. Very hard to look at this Angels bullpen, which ranks 28th in ERA right now in Major League Baseball. Yeah, this would be a tough sell for me. I do think the Yankees aren't always going to be this terrible at the plate. They are going through it. But if there's a guy that the Yankees can turn it around against, I believe it is Kyle Hendricks and this Angels team. They are throwing Will Warren out on the mound, who has had his ups and downs, but I do think he's going to get some run support here tonight. To me, it's all about backing the Yankees. And the total is interesting. Opened up at 9. It's staying at 9. I think the bats come alive for the Yankees tonight. I'm going to be willing to take that team total and go up and over it here tonight in the game. Also, Baltimore and Tampa, the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays tonight, guys. Have you seen what they're doing? Oh, my goodness here. They are sending out Dean Kremer, which does not excite a lot of folks, but he hasn't been terrible as of late. In fact, the Baltimore Orioles lineup is doing a much better job since they finally got healthy. They got Mullins in this lineup now. They're scoring some runs. The bullpen has been better. Zach Little going for the Tampa Bay Rays here. And he leads, I believe, the American League in home runs allowed with 21. Hot, humid night in Tampa, and they are mashing the ball, the Tampa Bay Rays here, averaging close to 5 runs a game over the last couple of weeks. No reason not to look at an over here. I think runs are coming in this game between the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays for sure. And again, great Major League Baseball action here, and the all-important closeout opportunity for the defending champion Florida Panthers tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, I'll be rooting for Florida, but more importantly, I'll be betting on Florida to get it done. We'll have more on that tomorrow. Much more coming your way, though. The early line. We'll see you in 24 hours here on The Grid. Enjoy.